And welcome to the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Reeves, joined today with a full crew. We're bursting at the seams over here at Game Informer. Somebody's got to go. No, sorry. Hopefully that didn't trigger
Survivor? What's happening?
Somebody, one of you will not make it out of here alive. That is the voice of Alex Stadnick.
Hello, friends. Good to be here for now? Question mark?
For now. That's right. Don't get used to it, buddy. Kimberly Wallace.
Did I get put on the weakest link all of a sudden? Are we going to fight this out? I don't know what's going on.
Is that you?
I hope
not. Is
that
show still on?
They're bringing it back with Jane Lynch. They're bringing it back.
They brought it back. That's right.
Yeah. Jane Lynch is the host now.
And who is the weakest link? Is it Dan Tack?
Talk about some disturbing rhetoric to start the show. Hey, everybody. Glad to be here.
Are you?
Glad to have you, Dan.
I'm glad to be. I don't know. Am I really here?
Am I glad to be the weakest link?
Sure, why not? At least I was on the show. If I'm the weakest link, at least I got on the show, right?
True.
Well, you made it this far.
That's true.
Yeah.
You became famous. You had your 15 minutes. Also, here, that's not all. We're not just 4 people today. We're 5 because today we're joined by a very special guest, Blake Hester, newest inductee into the Game Informer editorial staff. How's it going, sir?
It's great. And I just want to say up top that I believe I'm the strongest link right now, and I'm here to usurp your role as host.
Whoa.
Oh, wow. He's going for it.
All right, ready?
I love it. I love it.
It's kind of like prison rules, First day on the podcast, you just got to swing at them. Anyway,
That's true.
I'm happy to be here. A long time.
You have the confidence I've always wanted in my life.
This is the perfect start to the show.
I aspire to be like you, Blake. Seriously, you're my new role model. That's what we're going with.
Wow. How should we settle this?
Well, I mean, we could just boot Blake off the call if you want me to, as you being the host.
That's true.
Right. Yeah.
I'm currently the host and I have all the power. Maybe I should just keep being king. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think we
Is
leave
that how a king retains his power?
I think we leave it up to the community to decide who they want to host. Yeah.
All right, community. It's up to you now. Is it me or Blake? I hope I didn't upset you, community, by saying how beautiful you look today and how nice your breath is and how much I love you, community.
And how I think Ben is the only one with access to the podcast email, so he can stack
yeah,
the
there's
deck in
also
his
that.
favor. Yeah. Neither here nor there.
Oh, all these emails are suddenly coming in. They say, keep Ben as host. I never want to see Blake again. I'm sorry. Blake, as host, I'm going to let you stay on the show, though. That's how kind I am.
I thought you were saying as host, like Blake's going to host now.
As the new host, yes, I'm going to let him stay on as host. Which brings us to the show, Game Informer. It's the show where we inform you about video games. We are going to talk about a bunch of games later on the show. Specifically, we will talk about the new Spider-Man Miles Morales game from Insomniac Games.
Yeah, buddy.
It's out in like a month. It's on our cover. We had a bunch of new footage that we got to see. We have a bunch of stories that are going up online today. We're going to talk about it extensively with Andrew Reiner. He'll be on the show later. So stick around for that. Then we'll do community emails, obviously. We have a playlist to do, but for our first segment, I obviously want to kick it off with a segment I like to call Blake Monster, where we get to learn all about Blake Hester, our newest Game Informer hire. How's it going, sir?
It's great.
We obviously know that you want to steal our jobs, but what else do you want to tell about the community about? Like, what kind of games are you into?
Interesting question. I feel like my gaming taste has changed so dramatically recently that if you would have asked me, a little earlier, I would have said something like narrative focused, indie driven. But these days I am almost exclusively a multiplayer gamer. I have fallen deep into Warzone just as a way to keep in contact with friends, as we can't currently see anyone or socialize the way we used to. So my playing these days is almost entirely online. Other than that, I try to keep up with whatever narrative game is out these days. I tried the new Mafia Definitive Edition. Didn't care for it, but checked out Last of Us. All that good stuff.
Excellent. Now, for those who don't know, you were a Game Informer intern a few years
Mhm.
back,
Yes, I
which I'm sure
was.
was incredible because I was your
Uh,
boss at the time.
sure, yeah. I was a part of the Blessed group, I believe everyone calls it, with Leo
Uh-huh.
Vader, AJ Moser, and Haley McLean. And yeah, that was great. I was glad to come back in a full-time capacity to usurp
Sure.
your role as host of the Game Informer podcast.
That's perfect. Yes. And my time with Leo was also as this contentious. Why did you guys call yourself the Blessed Group?
Um, well, interesting question. It was something I came up with just now and just kind of stuck and decided to roll with it.
Yeah,
That's like
it sounds really good.
that is a Hall of Fame class though for an internship group. If you're
Mhm.
looking at like NBA,
Yeah.
like Hall of Fame classes, that's up there, I think.
It
Well,
was weird how it lined up. Like we have stayed in like daily communication over the past 4 years. So it was like I feel super lucky to have been a part of that group.
I just assumed you were going to say because, now 50% of that intern class has been hired on by Game Informer,
That's true.
which is kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
It is
Yep.
weird that Leo left right before I joined though. I hope he's not trying to avoid me.
Wait, did you kill him and that's how you got here?
Yeah,
Feels like you have a recurring theme here. Interesting.
I did. I mean, God bless his soul, rest in power. But yeah, I did and kill Leo to get my job here. It worked out.
Yeah, perfect. So since being an intern at Game Informer, what have you done? You've done a lot of freelance stuff. You want to throw any of that out there?
Yeah,
Highlights for people to check out?
yeah. I was a freelancer right before joining Game Informer. I had just passed my 5-year anniversary as a freelancer, so I freelanced a little bit before my internship, and then obviously after my internship. I was all over the place. I mean, I think I wrote for pretty much anywhere that publishes games writing for money. I was at Killscreen for a bit, and I was at Glixel, which was Rolling Stone's vertical for a while. But I think the thing I tend to maybe be most known for in my small little circle are long form features for Polygon. I wrote numerous of those over the years and traveled around the country a bunch doing stories like that. I don't know which one I would necessarily point to over the rest. I guess the one most indicative of the work I like was a 6-week road trip I took to visit indie developers around the United States and see how like where you live affects what you make. So that I tend to point as my favorite one. So if people want to check that out. Until now, you just go to GameInformer.com. I'm all over that place.
You're taking over. I heard you're the new ECO. Is that right?
That's right. I'm also usurping the role as host of the Game Informer show. So my hands in a lot of different pots these days. Really stoked to get involved with the team.
That's right. Cool. And you will soon be the head of, I think, GameStop, if I'm not correct. Great. Well, I know you're new to this role as host of the Game Informer show, but we normally do this thing called playlist at the very beginning. Seems like you've already kind of screwed that up by doing this section on about yourself. But what do you say we roll over to the playlist?
Sounds great to me. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's good. Cool. Well, I mean, I would say, what is everybody playing? But it feels like everybody's kind of playing the same thing. A game called Phasmophobia. I know Kim, Dan, I think, and Alex, you've all checked this out. Blake, have you checked out this game, Phasmophobia?
Yeah, I haven't played it. I've been watching Leo Vader stream it the past few weeks, though, which is very entertaining. Both the game and Leo's cohort of friends, the way they play that game, it seems super, super interesting. They usually play in VR, which is fun to watch their reactions in real time.
I literally couldn't do it. I would die. I would literally die. I was dying yesterday on the or 2 days ago on the stream at this point. But it was fun. Dan Tack showed us the way.
Yeah, what is the way, Dan? Dan and Kim, just jump in there. Like,
I'm
what's
sure a
this
lot
game
of people
about?
have questions. We haven't really said what it is. It's a 4-player cooperative horror game that obviously is a very extreme take on the concept of ghost hunting. So you get a lot of the same tools that ghost hunters use on the shows that you've probably seen on Netflix and Amazon, and before that TV back in the old days. Like Ghost Hunters and that other stuff. So it's you've got like an EMF detector, and you're checking the screen for ghost orbs and spirit writing, and you're talking to the ghost. The game has voice recognition, so it can pick up like I think about 50 different phrases on what they call a spirit box. You can talk to it. They can hear noise, so that if you get really scared and start screaming, it's actually going to pinpoint you and come after you harder, which is way more entertaining, especially when somebody like Alex or Liana or Kim or Elise or a lot of the people I play with get very frightened and
Animated.
after 'em.
I
Animated.
don't get frightened. I just call
That's
people
true.
what they are.
Kim has called out some ghosts. That is
I've
very
called
true.
out some ghosts for their.
I'm
I was there for that.
I'm sure
In
most of it
very
we can't say on the
appropriate
GI show.
in very
Actually, yeah,
appropriate language.
That's true. That's true. Kim has called out some ghosts in some really cool situations. That is, we were at a schoolhouse and there was like this child demon. She was having none of it. So credit where
Well,
credit is due.
I called that it was a demon because all children are demons. I was like, this has to be a demon. We couldn't figure out. We were between two different ghosts because you pick which, and at the end to get the most money, because basically you're trying to build up your rank so you can get better equipment and buy more equipment each round you go into, so you have a better chance at success and solving the objectives. And so at the end of each mission, you try to pick what ghost it was. And sometimes like it's really easy and you get everything, and other times you have a really shy ghost who just will not come out and give you what you need, and you have to make decisions. And so we had this schoolhouse, and I had seen the ghost, and I was like, oh my god, it's a creepy child. And I was like, that's got like what were we between, I don't remember, it was a phantom maybe and a demon. I was like, this kid's got to be a demon, no questions asked on it, it's a child, it's a demon.
So
But oh, go ahead.
I was going to go over the gameplay loop, but continue the story.
No, I was just saying what I like about the game is that you have this agency within it to like draw out the ghost, as Dan was talking about. And there's something about having those voice commands where you learn the ghost name at the beginning of the mission, and it'll tell you like, oh, this ghost will only talk to people if they're alone, or so you know what kind of draws it out a little bit. But I like that you're sitting in this house calling this ghost name, trying to like grab their attention. And it's just such a different experience of like your actions and what you do. Like I said, draw it out. And those bring like the best moments. But I'll let Dan go on more with some of the gameplay.
No, that's true. This is one of those games. This is a streamer's game. It's obviously can be enjoyed by non-streamers and will be. Definitely play it co-op. I can't imagine playing this game solo. But it's really great to see it, like to see four people not goof off, but like have horrific experiences in these houses and asylums and other haunts. So basically, if you distill it down and you take all the ghosty stuff out of it, it's really just like sort of a game of Clue, where you're trying to get different puzzle pieces and put them together and say, this is a demon, this is a spirit, this is a mare, this is a ure. All right, you're trying to figure that out, and based on the clues you find, you determine that. Obviously, that's if you strip it all down, which you don't, because you're in a house and the lights are going on and off, and you've got to go trip the breakers, and that's kind of like a Jurassic Park moment where you're like, well, let's go have Alex trip the breakers, and it's like, well, there's raptors there.
And then you come back, you find my arm. Yeah, it wasn't good.
It's like, don't go in alone. Don't go it alone. It'll target you.
Right, and you've got your flashlights going out. You've got all kinds of things can happen. You're going to hear screams. The phone can ring. We didn't know that could happen. Like, there's all kinds of just weird.
Do you interact with the Ouija board if you have it?
Yeah, the Ouija.
Like, there's just so many cool things that can be done in this game that I'll admit, like the control, there's a little jank to it. It's a little rough around the edges at first with not always explaining everything. It really is. You have to go in there, play, and figure a lot out for yourself. But there's just like these cool moments, like even so much of like, all right, if the room's dark and you leave a book in it, you want to see if they're going to write in it or not. And it's just, you never know how this goes, depending on like what they are, how they're going to interact with you and what's going to happen. So like I said, as Dan said, Clue's a great way to put it, like this guessing game of what this ghost is. And then part of the fun is like figuring out, seeing how it's going to interact with you. And oh my god, there's these great moments where the ghost just kind of sneaks up on you and you just hear it and you're like, oh my god, it's there. Like it does it so freaking well, which is what I love. And the great part is like the ones where you have to be alone with the ghost and you like close the door and someone's got to be the brave one and do it, and you're waiting, and it's just those great moments of anticipation of knowing what's coming, but then not knowing when it's coming, just is what I love about this game, and not being able always to anticipate how the ghost is going to interact with you. Some are very violent and will just kill some. When I first played, I didn't even know you could die, and I like got killed almost immediately. I was like, I didn't even know you could die, but this thing came up and just went after me. I guess, I said that would be what had happened. I'd be the first one gone in these situations.
Yeah.
Totally. But like it's cool to kind of see the different variations. And as Dan said, there is a good progression loop of as you get more advanced, you get bigger and bigger like environments to explore. It starts out with a house, but then you have like a school, a farmhouse, and other things. And I'm just it's hooked me in a way that I think is just because of the interaction you have with these ghosts and not knowing what's going to happen, and then having your friends there with you for the journey and seeing how you guys all come together to solve it.
Yeah.
Now,
So
are you guys also playing in VR?
not
No.
VR. We're
Hell
playing
no.
regular. I
No.
don't have the VR set up for it. But it is early access PC only right now. I have no idea
Yeah.
if it's coming anywhere else. I think there's only just like I think it's just actually just one developer making it, like one person.
It's yeah.
Is he a
I'm not-
ghost?
I don't think so. I've done some ghost hunting in my day, and I think it's an actual developer.
I think it's an actual
All right,
ghost
well.
hunter who's creating this game.
That would make a lot of sense.
Now, is this? I mean, it seems like it's fun. Is it like legit scary at times, or is it more kind of like played for fun, laugh,
Oh
They
no,
have
it's,
a,
When
it's
you
a
get
straight up horror game.
when you get
Th-
targeted, it's legit scary.
they have a fun feature where you can actually poop your pants when you get so scared. Sorry, I don't know why that tickled my fancy so much. It is.
Did that happen to you, Alex? Is that why you bring it up?
No, maybe go check the tape on that. As someone who is a not good at horror, shall we say, I was losing my mind a couple of times, and I wasn't even the one who was getting attacked. Like Liana, I think because she was screaming so much, I think she took on the brunt of she died the most, and I think she was attacked by the ghost most because she was screaming. But there was points where I had to be the one in the room by myself because we were watching my stream, and I wanted to die. It was it was genuinely scary. But that's just kind of my level of fear tolerance. What I could say for it though is I'd play it again. I with friends only and not in VR. I would definitely play it again. I'd like to see, and it may have been user error on my part, but the voice commands just never worked, like almost ever for me. So I don't know if that was my mic not working with it, if I just didn't put on a setting. But I think Dan, you said that you also had some issues as well.
I think you have to use the in-game chat to really trigger that to trigger the spirit box. That's what we've been having issues with that thing. So yeah, we're gonna have to start using like an in-game hotkey. So if you've got different voice settings, like if you're streaming and then you're on Discord and then you're using in-game chat at the same time, you're gonna need 3 different keys, 3 different buttons to talk to all the various channels. So that's something you can do. Or you can just not use Discord and use the in-game chat, which is a proximity chat and group chat, which can be interesting because then if somebody dies, you might not even know it if they can't talk to you anymore.
Oh, sassy.
That can make things even more interesting if you want to kick it up a notch.
I mean, it sounds like a really neat game, and I want to check it out. And this is definitely the time to do it because we're in the Halloween spooky season. Does this game have legs, you think? Do you think there's enough here to like keep going back to it week after week?
I think it's super hot at the moment. But we've seen this rain of games come in and get super hot. Like, Fall Guys, then to Among Us, and then now this is the new one. And this is a great one. This definitely picked the right time to release. This is a Halloween game through and through. I hope it can keep it up. I don't know that one person, if that is true. I think it's one person. One person.
If it is a person.
Right. If it's a ghost, I don't know. If they can if they can continue to create content, at that cadence that's going to be required to keep people going. But it's a very cool little project. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Cool. Phasmophobia streams on the site now if you want to watch it. What's that, Kim?
No, I was going to say, for it being in early access right now, it shows a lot of promise, and I'll be curious, when the full game is out, how much they add to it in terms of extra environments, and maybe even they could add different mechanics and items that could make things even more interesting. So really it is, right now we don't know if this is, going to be the extent of what's there or how this game could kind of even evolve by player feedback going forward. So I'm curious about it anyways to see if it really will have legs, but looks promising so far.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Alex, did you say you were scared easily?
Me? No, I never would admit that publicly.
Oh, that's good.
Privately,
that's
yes. I'm terrified of anything that goes bump.
And you said you're alone there as well, I thought, right? Because I see, isn't something behind you moving? Don't look now, Alex. No!
Oh God, help! Audio listeners are gonna love that one.
Oh boy.
Also, I did see Miller show up too, so he's around here somewhere. So I'm never quite
amazing.
alone. Yeah. Anywho,
he'll always be in your heart.
That's
where
true.
it belongs. Great. Dan, you been playing anything else?
Oh yeah, I'm always playing stuff. Still playing Genshin, but I'm going back to World of Warcraft here to get ready for Shadowlands. It was delayed. It's supposed to be out very soon, but instead it has a indefinite release date. But they did release the pre-patch, the first part of the pre-patch process. What does this mean to people? Basically, if you're one of those players who hasn't played WoW in X years, this is the time to come back. They squished everything down, so the player cap currently is back to level 50. So we're going way old school, and you'll be able to level to 60 in the expansion. So this is down from 120, by the way. So they're definitely moving everything back to a reasonable thing, and you're gonna get a new leveling experience with new newbie zones. It's basically the semi-decade reset for the game. So this is the time where if you want to come back to play World of Warcraft, you can do it now, and you'll be at level cap in time for the expansion. So
Okay.
I'm going to be leveling a new character there to get ready for that. Even though I have plenty that I could play, I'm leveling a new one. Don't ask.
Are you, Dan, honest question, are you still excited about World of Warcraft after all these years?
I am. I know BFA had serious issues in the end game, and it definitely turned a lot of people off. But Legion was definitely the best modern expansion pack, and I had a great time with that one. So I'm really hoping that Shadowlands is a Legion and not a BFA. That's essentially where that goes. It's essentially, I know, Ben, you could say, you've been playing it for 15, 17 years or however long it's been, and doesn't it get boring? It's well, it's because every expansion is essentially a new game. And it's been that way since even early expansions, when your awesome top tier raid loot would be replaced by a green item within your first 10 minutes of gameplay. You'd be really disappointed, but at the same time, they always add fresh and new things. I think that's the danger when you become this sort of legacy MMO, is that if you're not adding new components, are they going to be able to pull that off this time? I don't know. I'm hoping that the delay is a good thing, and that they fix whatever issues that were being had. And I'm hoping for the best. We'll see how it turns out.
Sure. Is Warcraft really 17 years old already?
Yeah,
2003.
Oh yeah,
right?
Oh my
03, 04?
gosh.
Yeah.
And I was in the beta, so that would have been even
That's
before
insane.
that.
Oh
Yeah.
my Lanta.
It's almost old enough to vote.
I mean,
Believe that?
it is. It
Yeah.
basically is. And,
And please, good reminder, go vote. We could really
Right
use its
now?
help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's crazy that a subscription-based game like that is still going. After so many MMOs have come and gone, but it trudges on. And I'm always wondering, when are they going to actually just do WoW 2? My guess is
Good question. They don't need
2 more
to.
X packs. They don't need to. You're right.
Speaking of trudging on, Kingdom Hearts. Kim, you've been playing that, right? There's a
I
new
got
Chain of Memories, or what is it called?
Melody of Memory,
Melody of
a
Memories,
rhythm
okay.
action game. Yeah, I got to play a Square released a short demo, and so I got to test out a few songs in the single player, and then also do the co-op. So Melody of Memory is, as I said, a rhythm game. Kingdom Hearts has great music. Yoko Shimomura is just a fantastic composer, and it's so much of the personality and charm of the series is brought through the music. So people are super excited about this. A lot thought it was going to be a theater rhythm game. It is not, and I think because it comes down to the 3D graphics, really differentiate it from a theater rhythm game, and then but the basics still kind of remain in place. So you have tapping, notes in time, holding on to others. But what's kind of cool is the biggest change comes Sora and friends can he'll need to jump to hit some targets. So that adds additional beats to each track and a different, plateau to kind of worry about at the same time. And you have 3 characters on the screen, and like I said, you hit the buttons in time to everything. So great music. I the story is going through the entire series up until where we left off in 3, so it's very much like a trip down memory lane. So all those songs, and reliving some of the moments, and Kyrie will be narrating that, and it's not going to have a huge story jump, but it will kind of give you an idea. Nomura teases of kind of where things are going, and maybe with her character. So we will see, but I had fun with it. The co-op was really fun. The only thing is for the co-op, like, so my fiance is really advanced at rhythm games. I am not. We have already said many times I just didn't inherit any rhythm or musical ability, and I'm okay with that. I've accepted that, but he would play
It
on
means you
like,
two aren't related, which is good.
yeah, that is really good. That he would play on the hardest difficulty possible, but I have to stick to like normal, and that's as advanced as I can get. But you can't both play on a different difficulty, even though you're looking at 2 different screens. So he always had to like deal with my chump change, or I tried to do the hard one. I didn't fail out, which I thought was good, but like the end, the score would come and I'd get like a D, and he'd have an A, and it just wasn't fair. But
Sure. Now,
it is what it is.
Kim, would you say, Kim, that the music is the like only good thing about Kingdom Hearts?
Hey, now.
No. I mean, gosh, I'm sorry, Alex.
But this game is good. It's good if you like the Kingdom Hearts music and you want that thing, right?
Right.
Is this gonna bring me back into the fold as a lapsed Kingdom Hearts fan?
I don't think so. I mean, it's a fun trip down memory lane. I don't think it's meant to do anything other than that, to be honest. I don't think this is gonna like give you, you know, uh a kind of where they're gonna go with if Kingdom Hearts 4 or whatever. I don't think there's gonna be anything like that. I think it's just gonna be basic, fun, jam into the beats, remembering the good and the bads, and
Yeah.
hanging in there, and a little bit of like Kyrie stuff. I liked Nomura. I like just showed up in my interview. By the way, they did not tell me Nomura was going to be there when I did
Oh,
my
cool.
interview way back. And so I appreciated, because I asked them the question, because they like teased Kyrie's role in trailers, and as Alex and I, as Kingdom Hearts fans know, Kyrie's kind of a big deal right now because there's a lot going on with her arc. And people are curious how that stuff is going to resolve. So I was trying to dance around asking him to get like a direct answer on, hey, is this entry going to finally answer like questions about that and where her story's going? And he did this whole like, what do you mean where her story's going? Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, the freaking ending to like Remind in Kingdom Hearts 3. And then he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he, of course, was just straight up and he's like, it's not going to have the story content of like a base game, but you do get to see stuff from her childhood and past that they hadn't explored yet, and will explain and kind of hint to where they're going, but don't expect like this huge like storyline and jump or anything like that. And I was happy he clarified it and just kind of, set down instead of making, because a lot of fans were like, if I don't like, rhythm games, I don't want to have to buy this to like get Kingdom Hearts story. And doesn't seem to be the case here. So that's
I have a question.
It's a first.
Yes.
Do you think
is it
they
about
know-
Kingdom Hearts?
It is about Kingdom Hearts.
Oh boy,
Okay.
here we go.
Do you
Let
think
me
they
look at
know
my
where
watch
they're
here.
going with the
Go
story?
for it.
What?
Do you think they know where they're going with the story? Like, do you think they have a plan at all for where this is, like, for where the storylines that you were discussing are going?
In all the conversations I've had with Nomura, he seems to write these stories how you would think on the cuff. He doesn't even know what Disney worlds are going to. I asked him this once at E3. It's like, I don't even know what Disney worlds are going to be until they get approved. And so we go through this process where like I'll have an idea for one. I talk to Disney and then they tell me, okay, we can use it. And then I write the story to it. So it's like you're kind of freewheeling and dealing as you find out what you can, what worlds can make it in and can't. I think he has like an overall plan, but I think Nomura at this point just really likes, and he's always been this way, just likes to tease his audience and go in these these directions, you're kind of just like, what is even going on here? Like that's his thing. So
Yeah, that's been my assessment, which is why it prompted the question.
Yeah, which is fun for the first couple games, and then when it doesn't go, never mind. I'm not doing this. This is a different podcast.
that's what I'm saying. I could go
Right.
on here. I am not. I was not. Some people really like Remind and what happened at the end. I was not into it because I was like, this is just getting too much. But I'll leave it at that. And I hope I'm wrong. But you know,
Hey, Blake, are you still out there? You still with
Yeah,
us?
I'm here. I'm here.
this happens every time I talk about
Okay,
Kingdom
cool,
Hearts.
cool,
Half
cool.
the podcast is like
Uh,
done with me. They're done.
Kim,
Everybody is checked out. They're like,
we'll have our
"Guys,
own
don't
show.
bring Kim
It'll be
on
great.
anymore, please. Just like let it go. Let it go.
Let it go.
Blake,
Back
I
to
don't want to tell you how
Let
to
it
host, but
go.
you should move on from this segment, and maybe ask me what I'm playing.
I was a pretty big fan of Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, and I'm curious if like I'm just sorry, Reese, what are you playing?
I love Blake. By the way.
Oh,
That
nice
was great.
twist.
That was great. We were all just like, is he really?
Thank you for asking, Blake. Such a good host.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
had the opportunity to play a new Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which we've
Ooh.
talked about extensively a couple times on the podcast. But this time I played for about 6 hours. I played a new area zone called Leicestershire. Nailed
God
it
bless
for
you.
sure.
I went there a few weeks ago.
Did you? In the
No.
UK?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
It's fun. I think the main thing that I got to check out that was new is the hub world, or not the world, the like your settlement, which is like your base of operations. So people move into your settlement, they set up tents, and you can use resources to build permanent housing for people. So as you're like journeying out there, you collect resources and then you can build stuff. That was neat. It was fun to like see this area. There was like one person, I built a house for them. They started selling maps afterwards. So they would sell maps and then I would go find treasures out in the real world. There was another person who was setting up like a Roman art museum. It was kind of a cool little like history thing that we always think of like, oh yeah, the Romans are ancient. They had all these figures and like they're in museums, but people 1,000 years ago also thought the Romans were ancient. And so just like, hey, they're setting up a museum for these Roman figurines was kind of fun to see. So game's still good. I don't need to belabor the point or anything. I wrote a thing online that you can check out. There's another trailer they released as well. That game's out in like a month.
That's
And
crazy to think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
less than.
All these games like are coming out so soon that are the big releases we've been waiting for.
like
And
It's in like a week.
how
I'm
did we get
legit.
to almost November now?
Yeah, exactly. I'm legit excited about this one. More excited than I've been for an Assassin's Creed in a while. And yet at the same time, there's so many other games coming out
Mhm.
that I don't know if I'm going to play right away. Are you guys excited for Assassin's Creed or is it just me?
I kind of feel how you do. Like normally, I like everything I see, and I'm going to play it. But there's just so much coming out around that time that it's like it's hard. It's hard to prioritize. That'd be a good question for people to write in, like what they are prioritizing for
Yeah.
the hot November releases. Because I think everybody probably have a different like top 3 at this point, right? Like
Yeah.
crazy.
Gonna be a big one.
Yeah. I'm definitely someone who can only handle one open world at a time.
Yeah,
Mm.
And
that's the other problem.
I don't want to dive into AC knowing what CD Projekt has waiting for me. You know, like I don't know if I can split my time between those, but we'll see. We'll see where the job takes me too, and and what
Yeah,
kind of
you
content
might
we're
have
doing.
to, Alex.
Yeah, for real. So yeah, Blake, how about you?
I think I wasn't excited for it. I kind of bounced off Assassin's Creed when they went more, I guess, like RPG like. I think the last one I played was the one with Steven and the 2 sisters. Takes place in the UK. Syndicate.
Syndicate.
Yeah,
Steven?
Jacob and Evie, I think. Jacob and Evie Fry.
Yes,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
okay.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. But just like the Odyssey and when they went like bigger, it didn't really appeal to me. But my partner is very excited for Valhalla, but she doesn't play games, so by extension, I'm very excited to now play through it with her. So I think we're going
She's
to
just a
dive into-
Viking, or why is she excited?
She is a Viking, but she also just loves Viking history. I don't know how much of that she'll necessarily get out of this game, but we were looking through the new Game Informer that just came out, and there's a Valhalla preview in there, and she like made me stop on it, and she like wanted to talk about it. So I was like, all right, I can see this is our November kind of settled. So
Did she play the new God of War game?
we started playing through that together a month or so ago, but bounced off it. We didn't get beyond a couple hours. But she was really into the imagery of it. She doesn't play games so that much outside of her Switch. So any games like that she wants to get through, usually I have to play them for her. And God of War we didn't have enough time to get through that one, but I don't think I'll be able to get out of Valhalla the way I did God of War.
That's
Get out
interesting.
of
Yeah, I'm surprised that God of War didn't stick for you guys.
Yeah.
That's a good game.
I found myself not enjoying it on a second playthrough.
Really?
Which kind of made it hard for me to get motivated to play through, 15, 20 hours, however long that thing is. I just think like a lot of the things I initially loved about the game, like just were not landing with me for whatever reason. So I don't know. Maybe we'll go back to it if she's like pulling hard enough for it. But I think with Assassin's Creed coming out soon, she'll probably just want to play that instead.
Yeah. Well, good luck, because Assassin's Creed is probably going to be like 100 hours. So
Great.
you've got the next few months settled. All right. Well, Blake, what do you say? Should we move on from this and go talk about Spider-Man with Reiner?
I think we should.
Welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I'm Ben. Alex is still here, and we're joined by a
Hello.
couple of special guests. Andrew Reiner.
Hello,
How's it
sir.
going, good sir? Yeah, I thought you weren't going to speak
I'm
there
good.
for a minute. This
You
is
know,
not
I
just a
just
video
Kind
podcast.
of gave a
it's
tip
also
of the
audio.
hat to the audio audience. They can hear the little brim movement, maybe? No?
No.
If they can't hear it, they definitely know what's happening. They can feel it. And their Spidey sense, which we're about to talk about in a minute. Matt Miller is also here.
Wait, I set off your Spidey sense?
That's right. Only alerts to danger.
Yeah, I am
Which is
Danger.
your middle name.
It is.
Yeah.
Matthew Danger Miller.
That's right.
Named after your father.
We are.
That's right.
That's right. Danger Miller himself. It would be a cool name. But yeah, we're all here to talk about our favorite boy, Spider-Man, but not just any Spider-Man, Miles Morales specifically, the Spider-Man. Why is that, you say? It's because our newest cover just got announced, and on the cover is Miles himself. We're talking about the new Insomniac game. Reiner, you talked to the studio quite extensively for this story. I was there too. Alex was there, so we kind of have a bunch of stuff up on the site. But I don't know if you want to just jump in, Reiner. Like, what's exciting here? What's exciting about this game?
Well, first and foremost, I'm excited to have you on this one, Ben. Going way back to 2018, we wanted Ben to write the original cover story, but he had a conflict of interest or something else going on at the time. He couldn't do it. So I ended up stepping in, and then we had Kyle Hilliard being our wingman. But Ben knows Spider-Man so well that I wanted him to be involved. So he's doing all the great online content, or a lot of it.
Yeah.
Alex is as well doing the videos. But I'm just so excited to see kind of your take on all the Spider-Man coverage. So that's going to be happening as the month goes on. But
Yeah, I've never been more crushed to not write a story, honestly. I've never been more sad that I had a vacation coming up than when that happened, and I honestly almost cried. But it turned into a really good story and an awesome cover that I have on my wall.
Yeah, so we had Alex Ross do that cover, and then this is just a dream. Sarah Pacelli did this one for us, one of the co-creators of Miles Morales over at Marvel. So it's just cool to have two of the biggest artists in Marvel Comics history, I would say, be able to do our Spider-Man coverage, really make it authentic, right? Before you get to My Terrible Story, you get a really nice piece of art. But we sat down with Insomniac over Zoom and got to see the game played on PlayStation 5, a video running on PlayStation 5, 60 frames per second. We saw 4K, we saw 30 frames, we saw all of it. And we saw about 35, 40 minutes of footage.
Yeah, I think it's all right.
I'd say so.
45.
And then we talked to a lot of the development team, the writers, voice actor. We kind of got the full picture from Insomniac. They didn't want to talk about everything, and you'll see that as we release our interviews online over the course of the month. We're going to have all those Zoom video interviews that we conducted. You'll get to see the whole thing basically, which is pretty cool. You're getting a high level of access that I don't think we've ever done before.
Yeah. To clarify, you'll see like all the interviews we do. We don't have like our full 40-minute demo session available, but we do have a good chunk of it available.
Yeah, I would say most of the highlights of what we saw is in there from Insomniac, which is really cool.
And then the game itself, when we saw it debuted on PlayStation 5 at that live stream, it was like, whoa, this is a big set piece with the bridge falling apart, Miles going against a new Tinkerer, who, is not like the old villain who was an old dude, barely. That guy must have been like 90 years old in the Marvel comics. He's one of the oldest
like
villains.
Eternally ancient, yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's like a young, agile female protagonist who, looks like she has Doc Ock like tendrils. But that set piece moment was like, whoa, this looks crazy. This looks awesome. And I got to tell you, we got to see the game from the outset of play, like the beginning of the game as Miles is getting off the subway train, walking up into a new Harlem and just breathing in those visuals. But they do not cut back on big set piece moments. Like right out of the gates, as soon as Miles is up in the air as Spider-Man, it gets crazy. And we're talking about a lengthy sequence with buildings falling down, Rhino just charging through everything, just chaos everywhere. That goes on for a long time and is just such a spectacle and such a great way to kick off that game. I was blown away by that moment.
I mean,
I was thinking about this. I was thinking about it because like the 2018 game starts out with like an awesome set piece moment where you're going to fight the Kingpin. And I was trying to compare him in my mind. And I think this one actually is more spectacular in a crazy way. Like it's just more intense. Like the amount of time and money they spent on this fight scene with Rhino and the chase through the streets is, it's hard to say it without some unintentional Spider-Man pun like spectacular or amazing, but those are the correct adjectives.
I mean, I remember the Spider-Man game that came out a couple years ago. It stands as one of the benchmarks for the tail end of the generation in terms of tech and art presentation. And I think it took a lot of people by surprise how this like licensed superhero game emerged as it really is one of the great PlayStation 4 games. And now to be able to have the same development studio working on another game where they can iterate on what they've already been successful on in that game, play with a new protagonist, and also leverage PlayStation 5 architecture to just, make it pretty. It makes sense to me why there's a lot of enthusiasm around this game. It looks awesome.
Yeah. And to that point, too, I think I was in the camp of people who were like very excited for this, but didn't know what the full breadth of it was going to be. And thus was like, is it going to be Spider-Man 1.5? And I've seen that in the comments a little bit too, but I just like, after seeing it and after some of the footage we've shown, this is its own game. This is its own beast. And talking to the creative team there, like they really want to deliver a Miles experience. And from what we've seen and what we're going to show, like this is not Spider-Man 1.5. This is its own game. And I'm so excited about this. This instantly, after seeing it, went to one of my most anticipated of the year. Like that and Cyberpunk, I think, are the two that like I cannot wait to play.
Yeah, we don't know the length of it yet. Like maybe it is shorter. Maybe it does fall into that 0.5 just in length. We don't know. They won't tell us. They said it's, in quotes, a satisfying length was kind of the message that they delivered. Yeah. We know there's less suits, less villains. They told us that. But how long is it? We don't know. And I know that's something people really want an answer to. And I don't think we're going to learn that until the game comes out. It is cheaper, so what does that mean? We'll have to wait and see. But what we saw, this is a developer that is treating it like a sequel, like taking applying new ideas, improving the tech, just trying to make it a better game overall. It does have that kind of sequel feel to it, even in little things like during combat, changing the camera, bringing the camera in certain areas to make it more cinematic. There's little tweaks like that add up in a huge way when you're watching it in particular. And I bet playing it too is going to be crazy. But they really zoom in for those venom attacks that Miles has, and it
The
looks
camera
cool.
work in particular, yeah, just to second that is crazy. I was super impressed by that just watching it. And you got a taste for it if you watch the bridge fight scene that they debuted online. But seeing it in action, like in normal fights where the camera zooms in when he's punching and kind of spins around, all while you're still controlling it, like that was really impressive to me and kind of felt next gen-y, even though the game is also coming out on PS4. So yeah, I'm super excited.
Yeah,
And it's funny.
Really fast too.
Reiner.
Oh, it's funny. When we were talking before we saw the demo, they said like a year has passed, and the city is kind of in certain areas that were destroyed been repaired. There's new things coming online. Roxxon's taking over different areas of the city. But the first thing we see right out of the gates is Rhino just destroying a large part of the city, right? Like just running through these buildings. I mean, that's like the first 30 minutes of play. Like he's putting holes in buildings. The mall, which you see in great detail, he just rips through that. And boy, if you talk about a set piece, going into a mall like the size of like Mall of America, what was the name of it? The Glam Mall, I think, in this game.
I think so.
So yeah.
Right.
And then J. Jonah Jameson being in there, just great humor, great framing of these shots. You'll see the Jameson video on the 23rd. We're going to release that. So you'll get to see some J. Jonah Jameson in action as a mall Santa. So that should be fun.
Yeah, he's still super funny. And you mentioned Rhino, who's like the first villain you fight. And then there's also Roxxon, which is the big bad of the game. And they're a company that's been around in the comics for a while. They're kind of a malevolent force, if you will. But in the game, they set up a new energy they're trying to set up in Harlem. And Simon Kruger's the main contact for Roxxon, and you meet him. And there's definitely something going on with this guy. He's going to be a villain in the game somehow. And that's kind of all we know about the story. Like that's what they told us, but I'm interested. I like that it's a more realistic narrative rather than just I love supervillains, but rather than just a bunch of supervillains like dancing in front of each other. Like this humanizes it a little bit, and it seems like it's going to be a fun story.
I kind of want to learn about this story where you have supervillains dancing, Ben. I have not seen that. You're talking about the Sinister Six, obviously.
Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, I think, is specifically what it's talking about.
I think the thing that for me I'm most excited about with this game is to see the story expertise that Insomniac has, and bringing that to the same thing that the comics universe have done such a good job of doing, which is articulating the difference between these two leads, right? Like you got two characters in the Marvel universe named Spider-Man, and from the outside, I think that comes across as very strange until you've read the stories that slowly articulate that distinction between them, and why it is that way, and the relationship between them. And it's clear that Insomniac both understands the way that has worked in the comics, but is also charting their own course for how to do it in their version of the story. And I don't really have much of a doubt that they're going to have the chops to be able to make those characters feel distinct. And that's exciting for me to have them both be different from each other, and then also see the ways that, because one's kind of mentoring the other one, that they're in some ways the same. I think that's a cool way to be able to approach a sequel. And it feels very much in line. I mean, it's not betraying anything about the way those characters are in their original form in the comics.
Yeah, and this is more of like a. Oh, go ahead.
We have terrible delay, which makes us talk over each other. But I've always appreciated that Marvel didn't change Miles's name to like Spider Boy or like Spider Lad or something dumb like that when he came over into the main continuity. And there were two Spider-Mans. It is a little bit confusing to your point, Miller, but it's also highlights the fact that Miles is a hero in his own right. He's as much deserving of the name Spider-Man as Peter was when he first started out, and he was a boy too. So it's kind of cool that he's here, and it's cool that Miles is getting a spotlight in this game.
Yeah, and it was so smart of Insomniac to have him debut in the last game, right? Like his origin story was very much told in the margins of that game, and it was mostly a story about Peter, but you did get your first taste of Miles in a big way, and saw that he was going to be a Spider-Man in the future, and they planted that seed and made you go, I can't wait for the next game because they're going to be together, and that's exactly how this game begins. You see them web swinging together. And it's such a cool thing to see, even though you're not controlling Peter at any point. You are a Spider-Man that is doing just exactly what Peter is, not as fluidly, not as smoothly, right? Like he is still coming into his own. He's kind of lanky, a little unsure of his motions. You can see he's more legs. They say that Insomniac says that he doesn't have the upper body strength of Peter yet, so he's more propelled by his legs. He leans into his legs a lot in combat. That's another way that they differentiate him. Two big ones though are, yes, he'll have gadgets just like Peter. He's a smart kid. He knows how to do all that stuff. He has his webs, all that stuff, but spider sense. But then he also has his venom attacks, which are electrical charges that he can power up. You got to like build up a meter, and then he can really wall up an enemy with them. And then he can also tap into camouflage. He can turn invisible on the battlefield, which completely changes how combat sequences can unfold, right? Like you could tap into camo and then disappear and then reset stealth and go back to stealth takedowns. If you got spotted in the last game, you could hightail it and just forget that challenge for a while, or just try to complete it with your fists, right? And now you can approach it again if you want to be sneaky and use the new, there's ceiling takedowns now and wall takedowns in addition to just kind of the standard takedowns. So there's a lot more dynamics at play in combat. Will he feel as powerful as Peter? We don't know yet. We'll have to see how this kind of coming of age story unfolds, but he seems potent right out of the gates. Like he is a force to be reckoned with for sure.
Yeah. And to clear up something I've seen in the comments too, to Reiner's point, we talked about venom powers, and it's referring to in the comics. That's what his powers are referred to. We did ask about another fan favorite villain if there was any connection there, and Insomniac said no. So that's where the venom powers are from, not Eddie Brock, unfortunately. So
yeah, we asked about Venom and we asked about Green Goblin as well, and they said like, yeah, that's definitely part of like the larger story we're telling, but it's kind of Peter's story, and this is Miles' story right now. So you'll probably have to wait until the next game to really find out about the Venom villain or the Venom costume, which is something I'm excited to see, obviously.
Yes,
but
definitely
probably not in this game. But yeah, going back to just Miles in general, and we talked about the combat. We talked about Peter, who is in the beginning of the game that we saw, but then he leaves to go to Symkaria. He's on a work assignment with Mary Jane, and he leaves Miles to be like the only Spider-Man in town for a while. So it's kind of a big responsibility for him. But Peter set up one thing they showed us were these challenges that Miles will have to take on. So kind of like I think it's kind of like the Harry Osborn stuff in the last game. There's a bunch of challenges scattered across the city that you can go do, and that rewards you with stuff. So that's an example of like side content you'll get to check out in the game.
Definitely.
Game looks cool. Like I'm super excited about it. Reiner, is there anything else we missed? Like anything? I mean, there's a lot more in the story. There's a lot more in your cover, which you wrote about.
There's a third Spider-Man. There's a cat named Spider-Man.
Spider Cat.
People are losing their mind over this cat. Like, do you want to talk about the cat?
Yeah. So you are tasked to go track down a cat that, for whatever reason, these robbers took from a shop, and so you go to this, what is it, energy or some kind of
factory, like a warehouse. Yeah.
Yeah. You go there, you track down the cat, and turns out Miles really bonds with this cat and becomes a sidekick, and even will disguise the cat's identity with a little Spider-Man mask that's over the top part of his face. And then when you do a finisher, when you're wearing that suit, the cat is attached to that suit. You can't move the backpack to other suits or whatever. But when you do a finisher with that suit, the cat will leap out over your back and slash at the enemy. So the cat is so actually intertwined with combat, which is pretty great. I think it's,
I can't imagine another suit they would create that I would want to wear more than that one.
No.
I think the cat suit's the one I'm going to wear most of the time. Oh, maybe a Spider-Ham suit.
Spider-Ham I'd wear. Yeah, I'd rock. Yeah. I don't know. Some of those screenshots we released online, the Daft Punk helmet that he's wearing is like unreal. I can't wait to see if they do some stuff to kind of tip of the cap to Spider-Verse would be really cool. I'm after what they did with the suits in the first Spider-Man game, I'm so excited to see what comes next. So, and that's something
if they can do the end comic. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Obviously, podcasters can't.
Audio listeners, yeah, take a good look.
It's just it's old Miles. I don't know if that's possible. That might be that's from the end, like the his last story supposedly.
Too old, Miles. Yeah. If there was one villain that you would expect to have in the game, Miller, which villain do you think they would put in to be like Miles' big bad?
I don't know. I like who I'd expect or who I would want.
I don't know. Either way, this is speculation at this point because we already mentioned what Tinkerer and Roxxon are kind of featured villains.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's weird. It would be weird to not have his uncle as a villainous character. Like I feel
Uncle's
like
in the game. We know that. We don't know about the Prowler.
But whether he takes on that particular role or not, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they've confirmed that. Right? Like whether he was it
right? Like, yeah, we don't know that yet.
And I feel like it's pretty core to the Miles mythology, right? Like that idea of that tension between him and this guy who he cares about, who's in his family, but who's made the wrong choices. I feel like leaving that out of this version of the Miles mythology would feel strange to me.
I think we asked them about 24 times if the Prowler was in the game, or we would bring it up in jokes during interviews, and they always danced around it. So
they said
they didn't want to confirm.
He's great. There's a lot of purple in the Tinkerer villains, though. Just saying.
If you remember, in the original Ultimate run of that Bendis wrote for Miles, Aaron Davis actually steals his like Prowler stuff from the Tinkerer. So to me, I feel like they could be telling that same story, but maybe they're making their own take on it. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll
see. I would love to see Sandman. I mean, that's just a classic, right? Swarm, which they redesigned for the comic books, the Gameverse comics, whatever they call it, that was inspired by the Spider-Man game. They actually made the Swarm there. That'd be a cool one. And then also Starling, that's a new character that came in 2019. Would be a cool character to get in here. I think she'd be a neat addition. And obviously Green Goblin if they can do it, but that's probably a story for another time.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, they're going to save that and Venom for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a cool game.
It is a continuation though. Like the Peter story carries forward, Miles' story carries forward. It's not like a side story. It is continuing the narrative from the first game. So some of those threads might continue, just maybe not as a focus, right?
Right. I'd be amazed if you didn't get to the end of this game and not have a substantial tease of what the core dilemma of a third Spider-Man game is going to be, right? Like I really think it's likely that would be how they close things out. Like Peter comes back, but
or does he?
But we get some sort of special new dynamic of what's happening there. I mean, for a third game, wouldn't you want both of them? Dang.
Yeah.
Well, you could start it. You could start it in Symkaria with, Sable and some other characters that fit in over there, and then have a whole new location because you'd be coming back to New York for a third time.
Sure.
Obviously, I would love to do that, but yeah, go somewhere else for a bit.
That's not bad.
Maybe we already got our tease for the next game.
Go Far From Home is what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe
a good name for a movie or something, right?
Yeah. Maybe they go to San Francisco. Have they said if that Spider-Man in the Avengers game connects to the? We don't know. So that could be an option. But anyway, we're speculating far out.
Is Hawkeye still not out? I think when are they gonna
give us Kate Bishop? Where is she?
Totally different game, but it is weird. I haven't heard any talk about that game in a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, Spider-Man. Alex, do you want to tease some of the content that we're dropping here in the coming weeks? Stuff that people should check out?
I'm very excited. We're gonna do some main interviews, obviously, with the top dogs of Naughty Dog Insomniac that we talked to.
Surprise!
Yeah, different game. But we're also gonna do some breakouts and some focuses on Miles's redesign that I'm really excited about. We're gonna talk about some of why the PlayStation 5 made this even better type of thing. There's just some of those little things that I'm very excited about. We still have some more exclusive gameplay that we haven't showed yet that I think people are going to be very excited about. This is such a thorough look at this game from people who genuinely care about not only the game and creating a good sequel, but Miles as a character, and that really shines through. And because Reiner talked about a little bit earlier, how he is different from Peter, and I think a lot of that is in his style and in the culture that he grew up in, and I think they really hit that home. So I'm very excited to keep showcasing that. So,
and I know people are like, release all the footage at once, you cowards, and I get that, but I think it makes sense to put it in different sections so you can read about what they're doing, see what they're doing, and it'll be a full month, a whole celebration of Spider-Man. And you know what's great about this one is when we did the first cover story, it was like 6 months out from launch. This one, each day just brings us closer to launch because it's coming next month, and it's right around the corner. Just 30 days away.
I was gonna say, like, when we post our last piece of content, I think the game will be like a week away or something like that.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah. So.
Yeah, we're less than a month away, actually, right? Because it's November 12th for the PS5 and PS4, which is insanely close, and that's awesome. So that's a good reminder. We already have a deep dive into Miles as a character that you can read on the site that I wrote. It's got a little video in there too if you're more of a video person. It's like a minute and a half of Peter and Miles hanging out together and swinging around the city. Looks great. And then tomorrow you can read kind of a story primer on the game. It's not really spoilery at all, but it's a good setup for like what's going on in the narrative, kind of refresh your mind on what happened to the last game, and then give you everything you need to know about the characters in this game. So check that out as well. Reiner, anything else? Is this potential to be game of the year?
Devs, I always like it when devs speak about their games. You're going to get a ton of that. So it's coming. All that stuff's coming. And I thought it was a great cover story. And to answer your question, is it a game of the year contender? Are you saying?
Yeah.
I think potentially. I don't know. We'll see when we play it. I gave the first one a 9.5, and it was in that same breath. So I don't see why not. But we'll see if it's good or not. That remains to be seen. But a hell of a first impression it made. Like,
they're hitting all the right notes.
We walked out of that meeting just going, whoa.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop smiling.
That piece was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, speaking of,
definitely something to look forward to.
For sure. Speaking of, is it good or not? That brings us to our next segment called "Is This Game Good or Not?" starring Matt Miller. Matt Miller, is Torchlight 3 good or not?
I think it's good. I like that. I like Torchlight 3. That answers the question,
Well,
right?
great.
We're done.
That's all I need to
That was
know.
the segment. That's it.
That's
Didn't
the
need to
segment.
take notes on that.
You missed the playlist earlier, but you've been playing Torchlight 3. Reviews up on the site, but give us the quick rundown.
Yeah, I think Torchlight 3 turned out pretty well, actually. It had an early access period that had, I think it's fair to say, it had mixed impressions from different people. And having played the final version, I think I can maybe articulate why there are mixed impressions of this game, and for whom it might be a good fit. Part of it is that I don't think that this is the game that is the perfect fit for somebody who's like a super hardcore Diablo or Path of Exile kind of a person. I see you shaking your head, Alex. I mean, you'd agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, and I think that because it's in the same genre, I mean, it's another kind of classic action RPG sort of a thing. There are people who have and will continue to try Torchlight 3 and who come out of that camp and are like, this isn't what I want. It's too straightforward. It's too it's silly. It's a little bit lighthearted sometimes. The upgrade system isn't complicated enough for me. And I think those are all totally fair critiques. That said, I don't think that has made it be a bad game. I just think it's a different sort of a game than those other projects. It would be um, the two groups that I think would be most interested in it would be people who are kind of either newcomers to action RPGs or who are looking to share an action RPG with somebody who hasn't ever really played it, whether it's like a kid in your family or a partner or a spouse. Like, I think that it has the quality of being a game that you could really have a fun time playing if you kind of like action RPGs, but you want to loop in some people who aren't looking for that crazy complicated experience. I also think the other group of people who might really dig Torchlight 3, particularly in the year 2020, are people who just want to like escape into something that is very straightforward and simple and fun. It's a game that very quickly gets your character to a place where they're just blowing up everything on the screen, right? You get these big area effect spells very quickly. You have even the character concepts themselves are really bonkers. I mean, one of the
One of them's
character
a
classes,
robot.
one of them's a robot
It's
who
my
shoots
boy.
Yeah, it's
stuff
awesome.
out of their chest,
Yeah.
right? Another one is a guy who literally builds a railroad track behind him as he walks along, and just hauls a train behind him that blows everything up. Um, I played extensively with the Dusk Mage, who I thought it was a really interesting class where you're sort of balancing light magic and dark magic that you throw out, and it's lots of area of effect kind of auras that you're using with him or her. And the gameplay is just I think I used the word frictionless in my review, and it's something that I come back to a lot with this game. It's a game that is just about like you get in there and you are going. There's almost no pause. Um, there's very little compared to a lot of action RPGs. There's not a lot of inventory management. You get a lot of inventory. You get lots of weapons and armor and can equip whatever you want. But because of their pet system that lets you send everything back to town to get sold, you can kind of just run through a dungeon, fill up your inventory, and then real quick go through there and be like, okay, well, this is a higher level than the last thing I had. This is a blue instead of a green item. I'm going to put that on. And in a matter of about 40 seconds, you've sifted through everything. You send a bunch of stuff off to your pet. You send that back to town, and then you keep blowing stuff up, right? Like it has that quality of really constantly moving forward, even in their quest design, right? Like Alex, I know you've played some. It struck me uh, as sort of amusing initially, but then I really warmed to the idea of like you're getting quests that like it's not really almost anything in the way of side quests. It's just that you're getting the next thing that you're going to go do, and it's like, okay, well, now you're going to go to this dungeon next, right? It's not about choices really about where you're going next, or like, will I take the time to collect these items or something like that. There's none of that. It's just go back out there and keep killing stuff, but here's a new place to go do that.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So that you're not even I mean, I think in some MMOs and some action RPGs, there is that quality where you're like, what quest should I take next? Should I do this thing where I gather 10 rat tails? I don't know. Maybe it's worth doing that. It's nothing like that. You just go. You also have a fort that
Go
you're building
now.
up. Yeah, just go
Go now.
Blow
Yeah.
Go
stuff
now.
up.
Play Torchlight. I mean, it
And
sounds
so-
like it's fun, but not super deep.
It's not
That's the
super deep.
impression.
I think the character upgrade system is fun and engaging, and you get some cool powers and stuff, but it never gets crazy complicated. There's some interesting stuff. The campaign's not super long, but there is some interesting stuff you do in an end game where it opens up this new challenge system where you go into these new groups of dungeons. You start opening up enchantment for your items, and so that is a new thing that you can kind of invest time and energy into. But ultimately, it really feels like a game that you could be like, if you're sitting around with your friends right now and being like, we're all stuck not being able to see each other as much as we want to, and we just want something where we could hop online and like spend the evening talking to each other while we blow up some monsters and not really have to think about it very hard. This is the game for
Sure.
you.
You think you're gonna check this out, Reiner? Is this for you?
No. I just don't have
Save your
time.
time
Like,
for Diablo.
Yeah, I mean, we're coming into the holiday season. Any other time probably, but because I like to play everything. But now it's like Cyberpunk, Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs. It's like, oh God, here we go.
Yeah,
You'll be
I
lucky to
don't
be
think
able to
for
sleep in a month.
exactly. I don't think for like super hardcore like gamer guys and girls, this is going to be like the the piece de resistance of the holiday season or anything like that. But I think for having a co-op enabled thing that you could play with some buddies, it could be a good fit.
Well, did you hear that, gamer guys and girls? Could be a good fit. Torchlight, good. Reviews up on the site. What'd you give it, Miller?
Give it an 8.
8. That sounds like a good game to me.
Yeah.
So check it out if you're interested. But that ends our segment. We should probably go because we got to do some community emails here in a minute. So let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Hello, and thank you for tuning back into the Game Informer show. That was a great segment we just had, talking all about our new cover story, Spider-Man Miles Morales. We are going to get into some listener questions, which you can, of course, send to GameInformerPod@GameInformer.com. Guys, are we ready to answer some wonderful listener questions from the community?
Hey, wait, what are you guys doing? Are you guys doing a segment without me?
No, we were just testing mics. We're having a laugh, we're goofing.
Yeah.
I was told you booted him for the Discord call.
Our messaging is, we're all saying the same thing. It's just miscommunications left and right. It happens,
Oh, what a good bit. Hey, we should start the email segment now for real. And these are emails that you can send to, what was that, Blake? Podcast email at GameInformer.com.
You're just confusing people now.
You just send those directly to Blake Hester at GameInformer.com and I'll address all of them myself.
He's truly taking over. What have we done?
The mutiny has begun. The correct email, podcast@GameInformer.com. Please send us those. We love your emails. We love reading them. We love laughing about them. If they're funny, we love crying with you if you have a sad story. But yeah, please send those, podcast@GameInformer.com. You can also send us dares, questions, games. We love the games. We also have started requesting that people send us their required reading games, which we have a few of those to get to here later on the episode. So stay tuned for that. But first email, if you guys are interested, comes from a guy named Hudson Williams. Isn't that an awesome name?
That's a great name.
Yeah, it sounds like a place I visited. I went on a ghost hunt there one time up north. Yeah, sounds very, very familiar. There was
I think it sounds like
a river.
Character in a spy thriller novel, like the stuff your dad would read,
I was going to say that or a point and click adventure game. It's got very big point and click energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what his email says, but his name's, it's not going to be as good as his name, I guarantee you. Hudson Williams said, a few months back, I was playing Link's Awakening remastered on the Switch when I realized something was wrong. My Pro Controller's left joystick was drifting. This is a problem that's a lot of people have been having, unfortunately. He says, unfortunately, I couldn't play the game because I didn't have a backup controller. So my question for you is, have you ever quit a game because the controller sucked?
Yeah, lots on the Switch that are on other consoles. Handheld destroys my hand and I don't have the Pro Controller, so I'll switch over if something's hurting too much. I did that recently with Hotline Miami 2. I was playing, it was just a terrible experience, so bought it twice in one day just to have some relief on my hands.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I was going to say... Oh, Kim, you can go.
No, I was going to say, is it because the controller sucks or because you suck that you quit?
I mean, mix of both, I think. But like the pain in my hands was undeniable. The quality of playing is up in the air, but yeah. No,
I meant that as like a general question about
is it getting hot in here?
not as Blake, but that was I can understand how that was misconstrued.
Yeah. I will say, like, I think playing Hotline Miami 2 on Switch was a bad choice in general. It was like outside of the playing it in docked mode, just not feeling great. It's like the least optimal way to play it. So I was definitely sucking pretty bad at the game, but like biggest issue was just like my hands were hurting on the first
Oh,
couple
yeah.
levels, so I had to drop that. And I feel like I've done that for multiple Switch games.
I've had that
Where,
happen with Hades recently,
Yeah.
where if I'm like doing too many runs, I have to. And I like to play that in handheld mode, but like
Mhm.
I gotta put it down after a while. Just my joints just can't take it
Yeah.
anymore.
For sure.
for sure.
For me, if we're just gonna keep piling on the Switch train here, I got big man bare hands right here, and anytime I have to play anything with those Joy-Cons
Oh
disconnected,
crap! Yes.
like, my specific one is playing Heave Ho on that thing, which is a lot of fun. I love Heave Ho; it's a great game, but that's one of the few games that my girlfriend and like her sister and all my friends really like to play. But I only have 2 Pro controllers, so eventually we get you have to use the Joy-Cons separated. And
Mhm.
holding down those triggers, like I feel like I have pretty good dexterity in my hands still. But like I literally looked at them. I was like, I can't play. Someone else has to play because like I feel like my fingers are gonna pop off, and I'm never gonna be able to use my pointer fingers again. So I'm with you guys on that, and I know that they have the straps that you can put on, but it doesn't make it that much better. So maybe if that Switch Pro is real, maybe they can have a little bit beefier controllers, But yeah, not good.
I think it's
You guys
kind of weird.
remember-
Oh,
Go
who do we
ahead.
go with? The 2 hosts.
Oh,
Uh-oh,
I'll
which host
jump
would
in.
sport better?
Yeah.
Sport
Do you
better.
guys remember the Nights into Dreams controller for the
Oh
Sega
my
Saturn?
God.
I don't think everybody had that, but
Yeah,
it came with Nights into Dreams,
Mhm.
and it was basically the same kind of weird shape that the Dreamcast controllers took years later. I think they kind of modeled it off of the Nights into Dreams controller, but that thing, I remember loving that controller so much when it came out. I was like, this feels so good in your hands, and I loved playing Nights into Dreams on it. Years later, I went back to Nights into Dreams with that controller, and I was like, ugh, this doesn't feel right at all. Like the joystick analog stick just felt loose and gross to use, and I didn't want to play that game anymore. So kind of a example of how far controller technology has come.
Yeah.
I still use old school controllers, and in fact, I don't really have the controller issue because I just grab another one if it fails, which it has before. But like, I think these are like $12 a pop. I just play on an Xbox 360 wired, the PC. This has been my go-to forever. You know,
Why not get a wireless controller, Dan? You like the wired?
everything wired. I wired mouse, wired keyboard, wired controller. Always, you want to have, there can never be that 1 second delay in your gameplay. All right, like let's say your wireless kicks out for just like even a second. Can't have it. It's got to be the fastest possible stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Also,
Hit
when
that-
you
hit the
said
lag switch,
when you said old school controllers, that you're about to like whip out an N64 controller, you're like,
I
this is
can
the
do that if you
only
want.
way to play Bloodborne.
No, that's with a pair of DK drums, right? And a Guitar Hero controller.
There you go. Yeah.
I want to see you do that, Dan. That'd be good.
I want to see me do that too. It would not go well. Okay.
Okay, next email from Derek V from Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Is it Ontario? Ontario?
Ontario.
Did you say Ontario? This is not a Wario game.
Ontario.
Also,
Canada.
is that where Windsor whiskey comes from? Windsor, Ontario? I've never known that was a place. I don't know. Someone tell me.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna go play some
you're probably right.
Ontario where. It's
Anyways.
Hey, Dan, you want to read the email from
No,
Derek?
I don't.
Okay, it says, "Hello, GI Show. I don't know whether this was touched on before, but if it was, I apologize. With the Amazon Luna being announced and giving a name in September, I was interested to hear your thoughts. I really don't have friends to keep buying very expensive consoles, so that's a weird connection to make. He says he don't have friends, so he has no reason to buy consoles. But anyway, so I would like to look at this, the Amazon Luna being the streaming service. For those who aren't aware, that they announced not too long ago. It looks cool to me. Anyway, he says, I know early access is only available in the US right now, but I would have no problem getting behind Amazon for something like this. Have a great day. Anyway, what are your guys' thoughts on the Amazon Luna?
This is a big one. I don't even. This is its own podcast, in my opinion. But let me hit some high level points here. I think Amazon Luna is going to be a major factor in like 5 years. The thing is, you can easily dismiss it as another Stadia, right? But you can't even dismiss Stadia. You can for now, but the fact of the matter is, this is where we're going, right? Eventually, there's not going to be any of the stuff that we have today, and all this stuff's going to be cloud and streaming, play anywhere, all this stuff that's kind of like very, revolutionary right now, and maybe uncomfortable, and it's kind of silly. We all laugh when we're like, oh, go play it on Stadia, right? Like we don't use it right now, but things can change very quickly as technology increases. Like if you would have told me we were going to have drone delivery or any of these other things 20 years ago, I would have said, what the hell are you talking about, right? But you gotta try to stay ahead of the game, right? Which is what they're doing, I think, which is why they're putting stakes in the ground now, even if the service isn't going to be a viable video game competitor today. They want to make sure that when they're going to build that tent, they have the groundwork there. It's laid. They've got a brand. They can do whatever they want with the brand. They can start thinking about how they can use that brand with their other brands like Twitch, and they can integrate these products together to cast the biggest net in the game streaming future, which is a future that I don't see a way we get out of it at this point. But
As long as you're playing with a wired controller, Dan, you're fine.
right, other new disruptive and revolutionary technology could disrupt that path. That's true. But right now, that looks like the direction that we're taking. So I don't care about it right now. Will I care about it in 5 years? Probably. Is it completely possible that Amazon will take this in their gaming studio has not been doing great. So the one thing is this just another project that they have money behind that they're not going to use? But they have an insane infrastructure to take advantage of this product with, and if they correctly integrate it with their other services, like Twitch and Amazon itself, the things they can do with it are pretty gross. Like in terms of how big of a net they can cast and what data they have to help serve you up products that are likely to resonate with your gamer profile, whatever that is, whether it's a mobile game, a mobile match 3 game, to a super hardcore game. Like they will know you already. They already know you better than yourself, right? They've got those things ready to go, and they're going to be able to construct that profile from everything you've ever bought on their services, everything you've ever watched on their services. That's a lot of information, and they can use it to craft a good gaming experience for you. Is the good way to take that.
That's all true,
Well, you're
Dan.
just
I
giving
mean,
me like a freaking
Amazon.
anxiety attack with all
I'm
that.
sorry.
This is we should have Dan's downer corner because it always
Downer
makes me
corner?
sad. The future always makes me sad when it comes from you, Dan.
Dan
You
never
know
has
what? Here,
that.
let me distill all that. I think it's kind of cool. All right, is that a better answer?
Bro, totes.
Oh, you think it's kind of cool they have all this information on you. Woo!
Well, everybody does.
Well,
I know it's
even just for short term, it's kind of interesting because like the Amazon, they've been trying to get into games for a while, right?
So the game
and it
studio thing is
feels
a completely separate thing, I would say, if we want to have this
Well,
conversation.
it is a separate part of the company, yes, but the fact that their game studios, the games they've been making have constantly been failing, doesn't fill me with a lot of hope that Amazon cares a whole lot about games.
Hmm.
And so I kind of wonder how much effort they're going to put into Luna, similar to Google and their Stadia effort. Stadia is like almost a year old now, and like it just has not taken off. But a large part of that is because Google has not really pushed it very hard.
I mean, yeah, and I would agree.
Given us a lot of reason to go to their service.
That's why I'm calling this like planting stakes rather than making a move. This is, you know what? If it doesn't take off, who cares, right? It's a drop in the bucket to them. But if they do get the the motivation to utilize this tool, they have it, and they've already got an established brand ready to rock. Instead of having to just come onto the scene with potential other competitors, with Xbox, Sony, and whoever else is in the ring at that point.
Sure. But what would give them the motivation to suddenly like, hey, let's start making games for our service? That's what I wonder. It's
I
just
suppose
so
it would probably take a really big meeting showing that how they could take advantage of all of their product integration into a gaming model that they could leverage to increase their other services. That's my guess. But we're just speculating here. I don't work at Amazon.
Blake, have you met much with streaming services?
I'm pretty sure. What?
Like gaming streaming services? Definitely not. I feel like I agree with Dan on all accounts there, but I also like wonder how much, I mean, I guess if at all, something like this is contingent on a lot of people having access to good internet to run it. And I think, like, especially for middle America, I mean, even me in Kentucky, like, I would love to buy a Stadia and live the dream they were pitching with that thing, but it's just not realistic on my type of internet. So, like, that gives me pause on actually caring too much about any of these things, because there's no point to invest in a pipe dream if I can't, just have the basic internet required to run it. So, I don't know. I'm a little all over the place on it. I'd like to be more interested in it, but there's just not a practical reason for me to be too invested in this right now.
For sure. Ben, forgive my ignorance here, but is their service going to be like Stadia, where it is playing over the cloud, or is it going to be something like Game Pass where you can actually download it? Because I think that's one of the reasons Microsoft is having so much success with Game Pass is they buck that limitation. Obviously, well, but then they have xCloud too, where they lean into that too. But what is Amazon leaning more into? Ben?
That's a good question. Like, it feels somewhat vague. My understanding is that it's primarily a streaming service, and I don't think they've said, somebody can correct me if they know, but I don't think they've said whether or not you'd be able to download the games as well. That'd be nice. I asked Google about that, and they said, like, no, you'll never be able to download games. The point is that it's in the cloud, which, okay, it'd be nice to download them sometimes, though, because then you just have a guaranteed service. I'm downloading... I can see it both ways, because I'm downloading Microsoft Flight Simulator right now, and that's taken me like 3 days to download because it's such a huge file.
You
If I could just
started the
stream that
download
game,
when it launched, right? That's when you started the
yeah,
download?
that's right. It's still downloading is the problem, because I have to download the entire world. So if I could just stream that game, like, that'd be cool. Like, that would be an instance of, like, show me a game that I wouldn't want to download, or that the reason it's on the cloud gives me certain features that I can't get from a console. Like, that's what Google should be doing. That's what Amazon should be doing with their services. And they just haven't done that yet.
And they can
Which is
take
kinda
their
sad.
time. And again, I guarantee you, one of the issues is not only because they've got so many different moving pieces at those companies. I mean, I'm sure one of the issues is trying to figure out how to tie these things into their other products. It's not as simple as, like, connecting the blue wires. You got to. There's a lot of different departments, different teams that all need to talk to each other on both reality level and at an infrastructure level.
Yeah. I mean, to go back to the point is, like, I'm excited for the idea of game streaming services, but they haven't, like, lived up to their promise yet. In short.
For
Sure, they're not even close. But technology increases so quickly, and when it happens, like, you blink and you'll miss it, right? Like, it's just like and that's going to happen here, I think. I'm not saying I want it to, but
It's all just going to be one Black Mirror episode.
All right.
Nick Christensen from Duluth, Minnesota writes in. He says, hello and good morning, Game Informer crew. Part of the excitement I have for my PS5 pre-order is the experience of PS4 exclusives that I didn't have time to play, meaning hopefully with graphical enhancements. So he's saying he wants to go back and play some PS4 games that he missed on his PS5 when he gets it. And now he's saying, help me decide. He's saying, between these two games, where should I put my time and energy, and why? The first game is Last of Us Part 2. Second one is Ghost of Tsushima. He didn't get around to these games. These are just from this year even. Like, they're not that old. But he's excited to play them when the PS5 comes out. What do you guys think?
I think we need to know his gamer profile, right? So we can use our analytics.
Go into your Amazon database, Dan. Type it in.
That's what I'm saying.
Type in the name.
Did he say if he's played the first Last of Us?
He did not.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, so we don't know much about him, but just personal opinions. Do you guys have a preference?
I mean, I prefer The Last of Us Part 2, but if you're doing like a bang for your buck thing, I feel like Ghost of Tsushima is going to be the obvious pick there. I'm not sure it stands up on a storytelling perspective to The Last of Us Part 2, which I thought for the most part was pretty well written and well acted. But I don't know if the question feels too vague to say anything like definitive. Also, what's your threshold for very graphic violence? Because that could be an instant turnoff of Last of Us. Not that Ghost of Tsushima isn't violent, but it's not as...
Ghost is pretty violent.
Yeah, right, for sure. But it's, it's like, There's, I guess,
Yeah.
less viscera in your face at all
Yeah.
times. But yeah, I don't know. Personally, I'd play The Last of Us. I didn't really care for Ghost of Tsushima very much, but I
Oh,
think if my money was limited and I wanted something longer to play, like Ghost feels like a better answer there. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a hard one.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think there's a wrong answer here because those are two games that will be in my top 10 the end of the year. But I agree with Blake. If you, I consider Last of Us Part 2 high art, just like I considered the first one. And I think if you're ready for that experience and you want to see what video game story can be in hands like that, I think Last of Us wins in a landslide. But I think I had more fun with Ghost in a traditional gameplay sense. I think it is a more fun game, and if you want an open world that's not like crippling at times in how large and massive it is, and you feel like you have to do everything, I think Ghost is a great experience. So
great. I agree with you. I'd probably lean towards Last of Us as well. So, but Ghost is a good game. Oh, I guess I would recommend if you have the time, which seems like you don't, but if you did have the time in a magical world, I would play them both. Hopefully, eventually you'll get to play both of them. So
I think
they're definitely worth it.
Why not both is the real answer here, Ben.
That's the real answer
on it.
Great. Alex James, SVP of Sales, writes in. He says, we still may be early, but keeping our name in the mix for providing funding options in the very near future. At Watermark, we provide sales rates as low as 2.5% with terms from 60 to 0 months. What?
Is this a gag?
You don't like this one? No, he says there's working capital, there's equipment leases for rent. He says we can send over an application right away. Do you guys want it?
why haven't we done that yet? When we start the show,
we have best in class low rates and excellent service available because I'm interested. Let's send him an email right away.
All right, Alex James, send that over, please. Yeah, we're interested in hearing more. Great. Next email. Francesco from Ithaca, New York writes in. He says, hi, it might be impossible to know, but what do you guys think is the total of lives lost in all the games you have played ever in your entire life? Love the podcast and game on.
See, now that's one of the cool things that Luna will be able to tell you.
Dan, you sure you don't work for Amazon? Seriously.
No, this is a very interesting and impossible to answer question, right? Like, my God.
Yeah. I mean, I've died a lot in games.
Like,
Not gonna lie.
Like a million, maybe?
Well, that's what I was saying. It's like it's easy to say, like, if it's over 1,000, I think that's easy to say. But is it over that million mark, or is it somewhere in the 1,000 to 100,000?
It's so hard to say because, like, some games you're going to be dying like every 2 seconds, right? Like Super Meat Boy, and then other games you don't die a lot at all.
I was gonna say, are we keeping multiplayer in this too?
Oh God.
Check KDAs.
Oh yeah, dude. Just rack up those Call of Duties, like.
Say in the hundreds of thousands. A million, I don't know, but
that's a lot, man.
Yeah.
So, how much would you say you die in like a single night playing Call of Duty?
Never, bruh.
Depends on the.
Oh yeah, dude.
Even that's granular, right? Like if you're playing Warzone, you're gonna die a lot less than you're playing like just traditional multiplayer, and then traditional multiplayer, you got to break it down even more. If you're playing like traditional TD team deathmatch or hardpoint or any of these things, like. I mean, if you're just running into the hard point and getting the objective points, you're just literally dying. Or you're playing one of the fast maps, like Shoot House. You're just going to spawn.
Dan, we're not trying to figure out if this is hard to calculate. We already know.
We are.
We're just trying to guess.
To do the math. He's trying to do the math because he's thinking about
the math faster.
Call of Duty tells you. I could just look real quick. I'll let you know.
Oh, does it? Yeah, you should look it up.
All right, 1 second.
I would say
right now.
Do that math. Do that math.
I've been gaming for 30 years.
Wow.
So I don't know. Let's just say 500,000. Call it good.
Okay.
I think because like I'm very much a 1 KD guy, and I hate to break it to everyone, I'm not as good as I have put myself out as. So probably like 10 to 15 deaths a match. So then, and if I play 10 matches a night, like I think this has got to be in the mill for me if we're including multiplayer.
Some of us have to go back to the Nintendo days, okay, where it's like you spawn and you die because that's the game, right? That's the loop.
Dan, I went with your number of 500,000, right? 500,000. Over the course of 30 years, that would be about 45 deaths a day.
Yeah, I think that averages out because I'm not playing Call of Duty every
You
day,
think so?
right? I'm not playing a shooter every day. What if I'm playing like World of Warcraft that day? Then I might only die once or twice or
But that
10
means
times.
you're dying more than 45 times in some sessions.
Correct. That would probably be accurate too. What if I do like an 8-hour or a 6-hour session of Call of Duty? I'm going to die hundreds of
Yeah.
times.
It'd
Interesting.
also be contingent on what difficulty you play
Yeah.
games on, you know?
Yeah.
That's true too.
There's so much stuff to put in here.
Or if you only play things like Celeste or Hotline Miami, it's like,
Mhm.
God, I died so many
That's
times
true.
within an hour alone in those games.
That's what I was gonna say. I joked at
So do we all
first
think
that my
And
number
nowadays
would
when I'm
be
playing like a
high.
JRPG,
Yeah, but all I play is RPGs, and I don't really die.
you don't
that
die,
often.
right.
Yeah, so actually, I probably have not. My number wouldn't be too high. I just started playing like a lot of more multiplayer games within the past few years, but I don't think. I mean, I'm not great, but I don't think I'm that bad where I've hit 1 million based on that. So I have no idea.
I mean,
What
Among
if
Us
we-
you die every 5 minutes, right? So you got to. There's so many different games and experiences that have all different kinds of qualifiers for dying.
What if we take the variable of death and somehow connect it to losing in like sports games? Then Kim, what is that at now?
Oh,
What's the
I
equation
win
look
at
like then?
sports games all the time.
Oh, there it is.
It's
There it
the
is.
only genre I like. I can be very cocky about, and I like that because there's not much these days. When I have to play NHL on the highest difficulty because it's too easy otherwise. And I was joking with everyone. I'm like, that's the only time I've ever been able to say that in my life.
Do you think you can die so many times in games that you'll just confuse death and he'll never come for you?
Yeah, for
It's like
sure.
I've come for
100%.
you 1,000,000 times. Why? No, you have eternal life now. That
This guy's already dead. I killed him 1,000,000 times already.
we figured it out. The key to eternal life, right there. Play video games.
Blake, did you find
I
anything
knew
for
it.
us?
So this is in normal. Oh, this is in Warzone, which I do want to point out. I'm in the top 11% in the entire world. I have
What?
1,000.
Oh, is that you right below me?
I know
Yeah.
what this segment is for now.
Oh, yeah,
That's
this is humble bragging.
that's 1,374 total deaths, and then in multiplayer, 12,221 deaths. I'm also in the top 15% in the world, by the way. So what was the math on that? Like 13,000 in just this game.
And how long have you been
Right.
playing that game?
I believe my hour count is around. Oh, I think I can just tell you exactly. So I have 6 days in Warzone, 2
Wow.
days in multiplayer, and I play every day. So whatever that math totals out
Yeah.
to. So yeah,
That's
Damn.
yeah. I mean, we're probably up there, probably closing in on 1,000,000, right?
So I'm saying somewhere between
Alright.
500,000 and 1,000,000. You know,
Yeah.
gotta be.
It's probably less for me because I know I die less. Because I'm just better.
Yeah, you're
but
just awesome. You're in the top 1% of players.
that's right. The one
Also,
sweet 1%, baby.
I now realize I was playing with the wrong game query host when I was playing Warzone.
who are you playing with, Leo?
We were playing with Leo, yeah.
It's trash.
Oh!
No, Leo. No, I think like I feel like getting to the top 10 or 11% is maybe the frequency with what I've play, how much I play it. It's inflated the numbers a little bit because I'm terrible at it. My KD ratio is like probably abysmal. I didn't check because I
You
didn't
left
wanna
that piece of information out.
Yeah, I made sure not to say that out loud, but yeah, I don't know how you actually get that high because I feel like of the people I play with, like I'm heads and tails worse than everyone by like huge margins. So I don't know.
So look for our
All right.
stream coming very soon.
Oh, I'll
Yeah,
play.
coming
Yeah,
very soon.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, Jay's really good.
Yeah, I gotta
Sure.
assemble the Avengers of shooters here pretty soon. We gotta stream that up. That's gonna be fun.
Would love to.
It'd be really good. All right, that was our last normal email. But last week we threw out the call. We said, "Hey, send us the games that you think are required reading," because we're making a list. We're making a list of the best games, the games that you should definitely play if you're into games. And people wrote in, which is great. We're getting a lot of emails, so keep them coming. specifically, we want to know why. So make sure, don't just like say this is the game. Like, tell us why. We need to know why you think it's a great game and worth being a required reading Hall of Fame inductee. So we got an email here from Kobe Session 22. He says, "Hey GI, I've been listening for about a year now. I love the content. Always makes my drive to work fly by. My submission for your required reading list is the original Kingdom Hearts. I first played the game when I was younger, 12 or 13, and it was the title that really opened my eyes into what a great game story could be. I think it holds up today mostly for its charming, albeit somewhat cheesy characters and palpable sense of mystery and discovery." What do you guys think? Thanks for writing in, Kobe Session. I'm really glad you wrote in because I wanted to clarify something, that this should be games that are good. Like, these are games that we want people to play now because we think they're good and they hold up. So thank you for writing in and letting us clarify that point.
Oh, you.
So Ben, I do want to. Yeah. No,
Yeah. What do you want to ask, man?
Go ahead and finish, then I'll ask.
Oh, well, we have a submission here.
Okay.
From,
yeah. I was going to ask
Wes
you
Bates.
what is the criteria? What does required reading mean? Is there any kind of definition before I evaluate this game? I just want to know if we've got any criteria. Is that? I'm sorry.
Man, why you gotta be so technical about it? You know what it means. Like,
do I?
Amazon requires him to be very technical.
This is what he's doing. He's trying to get your information. Don't let him.
I'm trying to get your.
Hey, Dan, can you help me out? Because Amazon keeps leaving my packages on the wrong side of the house.
I'll take care of it. All right. I'll make a few calls.
Yeah, that's a real problem too, by the way. So we'll figure this out as we go. Wes Bates from Woodland, California writes in. He says, "Last week you were talking to the show about required reading games. I'd like to submit a candidate, Chrono Trigger. I feel like this is one of the quintessential RPGs. It is largely considered one of the best games ever created. Voted number 16 on GI's number 300 games list back in 2018, if you guys remember that. It's a time-traveling story that is told well and is interesting with a lot of nice twists, but without being overly convoluted." What do you guys think about that? You guys think he's right?
He's right.
I think that's a slam dunk.
It is a slam dunk, and I'm not going to get feisty. I am going to get feisty.
Get feisty. Let's go.
Get feisty. I'm still mad about our RPG issue. I'm still talking about this all this year.
Oh no, here we go.
But Dan Tack can attest to this. I remember we were in a room and the best RPG of all time. I said, well, it's Chrono Trigger, right? That's our number one.
The record show, I agreed with that.
Yes, you did. And I said, if you're going to go classic, you go Chrono Trigger. I think if you're going to go modern, you go Witcher 3. But like, whenever people ask me what I think are the best or whatever, I pick Chrono Trigger as my classic pick because it still holds up well. It had the New Game Plus feature, the multiple endings, the time travel aspects. It was just, it didn't innovate as much as I would say other RPGs, but it did everything that it does incredibly well. And it's just like, there are so many times people will ask me what older games I like still hold up today. And that's one that I always say, like, you can go back and play that and you will be okay. It will not be an agonizing experience. And it's still so freaking good. So I am on board with this pick. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be this huge history lesson for you or anything, but it's just one of those games that is just, like I said, everything it did so damn well.
It might be a history lesson because you travel through time.
Oh,
hey.
Okay,
no, it's an awesome game, and to add on, it had basically all of the JRPG developer all stars all coming together for a single project. Virtually something that would be impossible today. We just got lucky, and that's a gift we don't deserve, and you should definitely play it, and it's awesome.
That's right. Alex and Blake, do you have like a favorite RPG of all time?
Oof, that's really hard.
It's not this.
Go ahead, Alex. Say Final Fantasy VII.
No, I lean.
Say Kingdom Hearts.
I'm very much. I can't do that either. I'm very much I cut more of my teeth on Pokemon, but also Western RPGs. So I think I lean more like Mass Effect 2, Pokemon Red and Blue. Chrono Trigger, though, is one that I have been holding out on because I know how special it is, and I want to make sure I play it the right way. Because, there's been a much ado about what that is nowadays. And I would love for them to bring it to Switch and play it there. I think that would be a really great place to play it.
What about you,
how about
Blake?
you?
What's your favorite RPG?
Probably Kingdom Hearts. I love that first game. I think it's great. I revisited it a couple of years ago. I think it still holds up super well. I didn't play any of them after 2, but
Uh-huh.
I think the first Kingdom Hearts is amazing. And I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the best RPG of all time, but it's probably my favorite. It was foundational in establishing a lot of the games I liked. So I don't
Take
know.
that, Ben. Take that.
I don't know where
take
you
that.
were, but we just addressed that we were only accepting good games for the Hall of Fame. And so
Yeah,
just reiterate that. In case people seem confused, but just want to reiterate that.
Yeah, I said Kingdom Hearts. It's a good game.
Okay.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super good.
Maybe I'm mishearing you, or maybe there's a problem with our stream, but
Blake
thought
for
you said Kingdom
podcast
Hearts.
host. Blake for podcast host.
Ben, what's your favorite RPG of all time?
I would say Final Fantasy VI, actually, because I remember that was the debate between Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger on whether or not that was going to be our number one game in the RPG list. And then somehow it ended up being Skyrim. So I don't know. We
don't talk
split
about
the
that.
vote too hard.
I'm still
And
so
it ended
mad.
up being
I'm still so
Skyrim.
mad about this.
Ooh,
I can't
we'll
let
talk
it
about
go.
this
Anyway.
off air. I'm curious about that. Anyways,
No, you're not.
We can talk about it later. But yeah, Wes Bates actually continues. He says the characters, and he's talking about Chrono Trigger again. The characters designed by Akira Toriyama, Dan, to your point, who did Dragon Ball Z. The characters are lovable and distinct, each with their own personalities, weapons, gear, and attacks. The game's OST his original soundtrack is beautiful and poignant, and it's a classic 16-bit pixel art is amazing. It's colorful and it holds up beautifully today. I agree with everything he's saying. It's a great game. I kind of came to it late. I think it's still a really fun, good game to play. For Super Nintendo game, it has aged like fine wine. You know, it's a game that you can go back to and still play, and it's still a lot of fun. So it doesn't feel super dated, which is nice.
Yeah.
Which Wes says, like the gameplay was also exceptionally innovative for the time, because it was one of the first JRPGs with random encounters, without random encounters, I should say. I actually really liked that point because you could see the characters on the map as you were walking around and avoid them if you wanted to. That was great.
It was also one of the first JRPGs that I can remember. I'm sure there was one before it, but like the concept of building up a hub over the course of the game.
Also,
Wait, is that true?
I said one of. You do, yeah. The end of time is your hub.
But what do you build?
You had all your party members super quickly, didn't have this long like wait to get everyone that everybody talks about, the RPG slow start, right? Like this one, you got all your party members super quickly and got right into the action. So I appreciated that personally.
for sure. So, are we inducting it?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, yeah, that was my next question. What do you guys think? It feels like we're kind of unanimous. Does anybody want to vote nay?
I guess I'll abstain just because I haven't played it, but I think I appreciate its legacy and what it's done for the genre. So,
Alex, if the internet has taught you anything, it's that you don't have to play a game to talk about it. To have an opinion, you don't have to play.
We are getting saucy.
I'll suss it up more. No, it shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Are you kidding me? Chrono Trigger? Someone's gonna clip that and be like, Alex has terrible taste.
I think it's a no-brainer. I think Chrono Trigger is our first inductee into the Game Informer required reading Hall of Fame. Woo! So if you have not played this game, it's worth your time. Go check it out for sure. Sound good, guys?
Sounds great.
Yes. Sounds great.
Great. Chrono Trigger, expect the award in the mail. Keep an eye out for that.
Keep an eye out.
And that brings us to our last segment of the show, which is a segment we like to call Get Wrecked, everybody. Segment where we like to recommend things on the Game Informer website or magazine. Dan, what do you have to recommend today?
Yeah, did you hear him what segment it was?
Get Wrecked!
Yeah, there it is.
Welcome to Get Wrecked. It's my favorite time of the week. You know, this week, I think what I direct you to is my Genshin guide. Because, of course, you're playing Genshin Impact, right? So last time I directed you to the review, but guess what? I wrote a beginner's guide on there that'll tell you everything you need to know about how to play the game, get started, and what exactly a gacha system is. Because I know a lot of people don't know what that is. And you know what? That's probably for the best. But this will tell you what and how to interact with that monetization model in that game. So even if you're not going to play Genshin, it might be worth checking out what a gacha model is. Anyway, that's my contribution to this week's Get Wrecked. Let's go.
Ooh. Kim, what do you have?
Well, I don't know if my thing's gonna be up yet, so I can't say what I really want to say because it's currently the layout's being worked on. But look forward to something cool coming on the website soon. But we talked about Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. If you want to know more about that, a little deeper dive, you can read my preview on the site on the hands-on.
Perfect. Alex.
There's a lot. I'm working on a lot these days, but I think I would point you to. I'm going to assume you've already watched the Spider-Man stuff, and if you haven't, go watch that. I would say though, the Phasmophobia stream that Dan, Liana, and I did, is genuinely one of my favorite streams I've been a part of here, and I've had a lot of fun on stream here. Just goofy, silly, fun. If you want to see Liana almost lose her mind from screaming, and me having a good couple myself, I think it's a really fun time. We got to learn the game a little bit too, so if you're curious about that, or if you want to get more into it, it's a good place to learn with us. I'm still very much learning it, so definitely go check that out.
What about you, Blake?
I posted a kind of a list art feature yesterday that I enjoyed that ranks how I think you should play the Yakuza games, and a bunch of people got mad at me, but people like to hate people that are correct, you know?
I was one of those people.
People got mad at Jesus too. So that's all I'm saying. No, I was really stoked on that. I hadn't written an article like that in many years, so it was fun to dive into a series I really love and throw some nods to some of the spin-off games. And
Sure.
Yeah.
Now I was joking about being mad, at least about Yakuza, but what exactly were people mad about? Just the fact that you said don't play them in order?
Yeah, that was it. I said don't play them in chronological order, and people were not happy about that. So it is what it is.
All right, fair enough. Well, I read that article. I thought it was good.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
There you go. Yeah, well, that concludes the Get Wrecked segment. Thanks for watching or listening to this episode of the show. We really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe, or subscribe to the magazine. We always appreciate that too. And we'll have another episode for you next week. Until then, game on.